Yeah, I suppose if I had to point to a place and say, well, this is where the plains begin, this might be as good as any. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Calumet Wilderness with Sam Love. I am your host, Sam Love, man outstanding in a field, man outstanding wherever he is. Yeah, we are on the edge of things today. We're on about as far southwest as one could be in the Calumet Wilderness. We're out here at the Orland Grasslands, a Cook County Forest Preserve. It's amazing to me. We're in Cook County yet. It is so open here and you can see so far off into the horizon. Get these beautiful views of the Tinley moraine here. Yeah, and before anybody says anything, again, I'm not saying that the people of Tinley or Orland are region rats, you know, it's part of the Calumet region. But if you do take a bioregionalist look at the region, what you see here is that we are very near two subwatersheds that ultimately and historically made their way into the Calumet. So very much the Calumet Wilderness. Let's go check it out, all right? The Orland Grasslands and the smaller adjacent preserves add up to about 1,000 acres of preserved open land in a very crowded county, in a very densely populated area. So really this is quite a rare sight out here, being able to just see this far off into the horizon in Cook County, Illinois. So this is cool. This is a piece of art that actually is a map of the preserve. And it's going to be hard for me to point things out and not get my shadow in the way because of the time of day. But if you look on this little edge here, on the sort of the southeastern edge, this part goes into the Tinley Creek, and this part here goes into Midlothian Creek. So both of these ultimately make their way. Well, Midlothian goes into the Little Cal and Tinley goes into the Cal Sag. But ultimately both today lead out to the Illinois River and into the Mississippi. But historically, those would have emptied into the Little Calumet, gone back into Indiana, or what became Indiana. Most of this preserve is in the Marley Creek subwatershed, which goes into the Hickory Creek watershed, which goes into the ultimately the Illinois and the Mississippi River. So yeah, we're definitely on the boundary out here. So this preserve has a 5-mile outer loop trail that's paved, and then all told there's 13 miles of hiking trails, including some great grassy primitive ones right through the center, which is where I want to be. So we're going to trace Midlothian Creek today from its source, which is not too far from here, to where it meets its confluence with the Little Calumet, which we visited earlier this summer, when you might recall I locked my keys in the trunk of my car in Blue Island, Illinois. So stick around for more adventure. So our next stop is going to be a park, Centennial Park, just a little bit to the northeast of here, very near where the headwaters of Midlothian Creek are. Right now we're in the village of Tinley Park, in Centennial Park, and we're very near the headwaters of Midlothian Creek. In fact, in this park, very near this park, you have a couple of drainage ditches and small tributaries that connect with the main branch, and then that begins its movement east towards the Little Cal. I'm imagining this must have been a really swampy area, because if you look at the maps you can see lots of reservoirs, lots of small lakes, lots of drainage ditches, bringing some kind of order to nature's already perfect order. Now, the village document I saw states that the headwaters of Midlothian Creek are found around 84th Avenue and 175th Street, which is about 1.5 miles southwest of where we're at here. Close enough. Well, if you remember my trip to the confluence of Midlothian Creek and the little Calumet River, you recall that the current was pretty swift. Definitely swifter than anything I've ever encountered on the placid waters of the Calumet. So I think there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, it's not a very long stream, maybe about 20 miles from its source to the confluence. So also a good deal of it's been channelized, which tends to increase the flow. But also you've got a fairly significant elevation drop from the source down to the confluence, about 100 feet. It's estimated at about 700 feet above sea level here in the moraine and just under 600 feet at the confluence. So 100 feet over a dozen plus miles doesn't seem like much, but when you add all the other factors into it, you're going to create a rush. All right, here's our first view of Midlothian Creek proper, as well as this really bitchin' black Quonset hut, which I wish I owned. I would live in something like this. But back to the creek. Yeah, here we are, very shallow, very mucky right now. Very slow current in this part. A creek of many personalities.